today, which really didn't work. So this is still not right. That's because mount is wrong. However, this time, good evening, Goth Metropolis, Emerald City, Xanadu, Babylon, to the ISS and the rest of you. Good evening from speaking of timing, it is 1 a.m. on the East Coast. In New York. It is 9 a.m. in Moscow. It is 3 p.m. in Tokyo, and it is 10 p.m. in Los Angeles. It is the headlines for 3/21, 2022 that I wish to deviate from without. I'm going to talk about three very key ones. As I said good morning to much of the world right now, it's now 3/22. And 3/22 has some interesting symbolism and numerology, if you will. But it's the numbers in the headlines of the stories. I know I'm not going crazy. By the way, I know what rabbit hole I had to talk with somebody and said something and went, son of a, that's why I wrote it down. We'll get to it. The numbers. I have accumulated several notebooks now, several. Started with a legal pad. It then went to another one that was half, okay, here. And it's not a joke. I wish I were kidding. I grabbed another one. This one's empty because of what my third eye said 10 days in. I ran through my original day timer. You know, your day timer that has a legal pad in it? I ran through that fast. And I didn't want people to think I was becoming another serial killer coming up with a whole bunch of these. But it's clear in the headlines that this isn't turning off anytime soon, as everyone demands it to. They haven't provided the right solution. The problem, the reaction, and the solution that's provided. So when this started at the end of February, as we're now through March, and a 30-day cycle, the 23rd, because this started with a post on my social media of where I was for Gulf War I in 1991, February of 91, when Desert Shield became Desert Storm. And as a young broadcaster versus now, and the date was because of, oh, okay, so there was biological memories associated with that time frame. Ooh, down the rabbit hole, I remember exactly where I was, who I was with, what I was doing. Wow, we were doing that. Yeah, we were. It was embarrassing. Yeah, you guys are late. Hey, here's the keys to this was bad. And it was an adult game of risk. And in a previous episode early on, I explained it wasn't a joke. We had a world map. All of us brought certain items, except one. All right, forget the wristboards. We went to St. Paul Book and Stationery. We got the map, the world map, but we didn't. We got the world size map, but in this, it was the Middle East. And then we, and then we all had our pieces, each of the four of us, three others, myself, four. Okay. And the other was, so we need that. The 5 dice in the leather thing at the bar. We're already at the bar. They've got that. And everybody bring a deck of cards so that there were to be 4 decks of cards. Turns out Uncle Tomas brought a deck of Uno cards. It is 1991. Uno was a common deck in all the homes. That's what he grabbed. So instead of 4 decks, we broke it down, used 2 decks together, and then the Uno card. Watching all these headlines of the Soviets, you keep calling them Russians. And I keep pointing out they're using the Soviet playbook because they're still Soviets. So while you argue over the minutia of Kiev, enjoy your chicken Kiev. This is the Soviet playbook. And here's where I'm going to give you your first little, oh my God, the numbers. It was almost 2 weeks before the Soviet Union, Russia, even admitted to the loss of one of their soldiers. That number was suspicious when it was released at 498. 2 weeks have gone by, and I'd like to point out that when I said this back then, how frighteningly correct I was. That 498 number is just, it's not adding up. Unless, see, because social media, the world, you can't have that many body bags coming home and keep that story from the world getting out. So far, 50 is none. 500, oh Lord, that could be maybe 5. It's Kremlin speak. 1 is 100, 1 is 10. Exponential exaggeration and minimization. And the whole propaganda matrix is now unraveling on both sides. It is 3/21/2022. It is major goosebumps. The Russians have no less than 9,800 dead Russian soldiers, 16,000 plus wounded that are counted, that are reported. Now there's a story that the report was hacked. No, because on March 11th, we already knew that number was well above 498 Russian soldiers. The propaganda. When that first number had just come out, remember that the Russians had just agreed to vote that we were going to not allow, if you say the protest or anything, you could go to jail for 12 to 15 years. Oh, dear God, how wrong I was. So when the 498 came out, I said, well, that's 500. Oh, dear God. I mean, that could be 5,000. Now, in that, I included the 5,000 to 7,000 wounded. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. I've reiterated this a dozen times in 30 episodes. If I've done 30 yet, I'd have to look. Guerrilla warfare and the tactics of warfare. I don't know what kind of really I should have been when I grew up and how I was raised in the military schools I was. Catholic military schools. Talk about a conflict of interest. Turn the other cheek, but open fire. Um, Hit the center of the target. I don't want to go on tangents on this. The sheer number of, wait a minute, 9,000, that's about 10,000. It's 9,800 dead plus. So it's 10,000 dead, 16,000 wounded. That's 25,000. Jeez, H, on a popsicle stick. See, because my numbers start turning as the military calculator guy, and that's not good. And even in Irish Mafia speak regarding the Irish Mafia or the Irish Navy, thank God we don't have an Air Force. What an obnoxious problem to have to navigate. But when the original stories propped up by CBS, ABC, NBC, and the worldwide media of the brave Ukrainians who told the Russians to off, and they all died. They're all dead. and the Facebook profiles start changing, and the lapel ribbons start changing, and solid and colors on the buildings. Oh, and the pandering from the politicians begins. See, that's when you call me the conspiracy theorist. There is no way at this point our leaders can be this incompetent. They have to be in cahoots. Holy. I'm going to use raw numbers. 100,000 Russian soldiers. We know that number is much higher. Allegedly, I'm using base number 10. 100,000 soldiers deployed. See, now again, we can do the half at 150 if you want, but it's the 10 numbers I just want to make my point with. 100,000 in the field, 9,800. See, you can't report that number, did, because there wouldn't be there. Okay, 200,000, then you're going to be mad because it's higher than that. 150, 180,000. Okay. The Ukrainians, I said, it's 10 to 1, a 12 to 1 kill ratio. No, it's higher than that. See, the Mariupol story, here we go. You remember 10 days ago when I reported that the city of Mariupol had evacuated 200,000 people overnight? Half the city. The city was 400,000 people. And I said, wait a minute, there's no way that's possible. The satellites, just the thermal image of the human stream of people. Wait a minute, a town of 400,000 people has infrastructure. You'd see the mass exodus because the locusts are coming down the street. None of that was available. And now it's resulted into a crisis regarding an event center where the outside was marked children, and then the tragedy and the militias and the horror and the where are all the okay, slow down. Everybody slow down. You keep changing the story. Is it 2.5 million refugees or is it 6.5 million refugees? Or do you want to now start focusing on the minutia of sex trafficking? Or the minutia, not minutia. What are the Ukrainian refugees doing at the Mexican-US border? See, they can't claim incompetence anymore. Intelligence failed. Is this the same group of senior intelligence executives, officials, and former heads who've been in charge of the machine all along, who said that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian misinformation and disinformation? The only thing seditious that has taken place at our nation's capital is those members who are constraining, restricting, and retarding all of Americans' liberties, rights, freedoms over safety. They're committing the acts of sedition, and the American public and the world are now allowing it. Because speaking of the world, the emergency summit has taken all week so that the world leaders can call for President Joe Biden to show himself as a world leader. Show us this world knowledge, this vast foreign policy experience. The world needs a world leader. The world needs Joe Biden. Isn't it Barack Obama who said he'd like to sit in a bunker and hold one of these things in his ear if somebody else were up on stage? I could be a president again. Is President Biden even our president? This is beyond insane. Calls, sorry, I don't want to go, the number dead. 25,000 of the 100,000 are out of the system. Okay, so if that number is 150 or 180, stop. Back in time 2 weeks. back in time 3 weeks when all this started and that first push. Mhm. And then the convoy that was 17 miles long and 17 miles away turned into 30 miles long. Yep. Okay, now back it up. What happened back there? Well, yeah, the smells of intelligence. We have the ghost of Kiev. It's not Kiev, you wussies. It's Kiev. Russian information, disinformation. It's propaganda. Can't trust it. It's not credible. There's a screenshot of a video game. Hypothetically, that count is correct. Hypothetically, because I also think hypothetically that the pilot is not Ukrainian. I think it's Israeli. I think it's a guy. And if I have to choose between Mossad and IDF, it's Mossad. Damn fine pilot. But what if those numbers are right? Why are they Blitzkrieg? What was the mistake of Blitzkrieg? You presume that as you roll through, they're going to cower. And you move so fast, your supplies can't be there to continue the strength. Valuable lessons, apparently not learned because we're too busy thanking everyone in the international community for being here, because we've done so much on Zoom to, control the public, but we need to be here with the flags and shaking hands. Should we wear masks or not wear masks? Should they be the colors of who we represent? I'll leave the flags as symbols and the symbols for the simple minded. If it's 200,000, it makes the numbers easy. 25,000 either dead or wounded. Holy, no wonder the convoy wasn't moving. If the initial accounts that were deemed they're not credible, you can't prove that. These aren't reliable sources. Remember, as the reporters were going in town, everybody seems fine here. There's nothing. Well, they're right outside. Well, we can't see. No, because they were cutting off the lines. Hey, how about again those allegations of sabotage between Belarus and the Ukraine? Sorry, and Ukraine regarding the saboteurs. Now it's finally headlines. Yeah, there's a problem with the railway tracks in Belarus into Ukraine from. Oops, guerrilla warfare. Sun Tzu. America, you're working on your songs, and the news is, artists who are playing a violin in the square where children used to play, where now random bombs just fall. Yeah, that's war. War's ugly. 25,000 dead or wounded and 200. That's 12.5% of your whoops. And remember when initial military global think tanks, God, in this first wave, it is quite possible that Russia may have just lost 8 to 10% of its equipment, not calculating the number of bodies. Because those margin numbers, if we use 200,000 versus the 100, oh dear God. No wonder why they wanted to get World War III in the talking points before the summit. These numbers are not deemed credible. They were allegedly from hackers. It's tough to trust those sources now that said that the laptop couldn't be proven it wasn't. If you know that, Mr. President, that's not. Leslie Stahl, I don't know how this works anymore. I don't know how Brian Stelter and any of the rest of the crack staff and Don Lemon, I don't understand how any of them have jobs tomorrow. I don't get it. I don't get it. Pay attention at the emergency summit. Everything else in the headlines for the day. India is the next to be feared. You must learn to start hating India. But the people from India are called something. Oh, there's another problem. We're going to have to change the language some more. No one understands. And maybe this was why the end of Catholic military schools. I don't know. Understanding the Soviet thinking, mentality, their heritage, their not their gender and their fluidity, their culture and their heritage, their suffering and their pain, their agony and their ecstasy, their victories and failures, their successes and failures. You have to understand that. Understanding you want to see it's the CCCP, Soviets, communists. Change the name and change the face doesn't change the product. I would direct your attention to butter and maple syrup and pancake mix and boil in the bag rice and all that stuff. Change the look, same product. Soviet army was never a highly advanced technical. Not that's fiction and Western propaganda to prop up the need for more defense spending. Record amounts of money have been spent, trillions of dollars that cannot be accounted for. All to be blamed now on the last administration due to COVID. And yet, before in the summer and the fall of the election 2020, and talk of more stimulus, more throttle back, there is going to be rampant inflation if you continue this. And it was continued for an entire another year. Multiple injections of currency that should not be going anywhere where it is. You're seeing it now. Free agency in Major League Baseball. Here's a $70 million contract for a 10-year extension on your. Where is all this money coming from? Because everything's been hyperinflated. Meanwhile, more numbers and more lies. The inflation rate is 7.8 or 7.9%. That's not humanly possible now that all of corporate America is quickly deciding adding 15% surcharges on their products. Unless you're in poverty and go to the dollar store, now a dollar item at the dollar store costs $1.25. So instead of a 15% inflation rate jump in your regular budget, you now see a 25% jump in your budget. But 10 years ago, the average price of gas was only about a quarter or 30 cents less than it is now. Uh, you seem to keep manipulating that rate of inflation that you really haven't recalculated since the 80s. Thank heavens they're all attending the emergency summit. I'm glad they've had so much time to. I hope they've printed up some windbreakers or some bomber jackets for when they get off the planes, like Hillary did in Kosovo under sniper fire, carrying her daughter, breastfeeding her. Chelsea was in the Ghanaian. Okay, she wasn't under God. Stop. More lies, even going back to then, going from the Gulf of Tonkin to who killed Kennedy to who really breastfed Chelsea. That was a tough job. Um, how much gunfire did Hillary not receive while attending wherever? I believe it was Kosovo. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong because she said that she and her daughter were under sniper fire while attending a Women Matter somewhere in the world seminar. Um, 12.5% of the Russian army, their soldiers, are gone. Oh, no, no. Well, 9,800 of them aren't coming back. The 15 to 16,000 wounded. They're not going to be back in the field of operations anytime soon. And I know we're worried about the human trafficking and the sex trafficking and the poor mothers and the daughters and the elderly and the okay. I get all that. The latest round of propaganda that the Russians are kidnapping Ukrainians and taking them back to Russia. Mm, I got a real problem believing that one. It's easier for me to believe Elizabeth Warren and her. See, how are we going to deal with being upset with India purchasing their oil from Russia? And can we call her Pocahontas? Pocahontas wanting to blame the evil oil corporations and those evil gas stations for price gouging. Ooh, it's going to be a tough one, isn't it? More potentially bad news. In the wake of Katanji Jackson Brown, you'll notice I have no headlines. No, I'm not reading any books. Her confirmation hearing started today. That's great. How's Justice Clarence Thomas? Well, we told the world on Saturday night that he went into the hospital on Friday. He was not feeling well. He'll be released on Monday. What did you tell the world on Monday? We told the world that Clarence Thomas is in the hospital. He was admitted on Friday, and he's expected to be released in the next couple days. Oh, so we're already changing that script. Good. We may be able to keep India on the back burner for a while. How are you not going to piss off every honest, good, decent person who was born, raised, or emigrated from India to become a business owner, a family member, a participating member of whatever community you want to call it? Oh, signs in businesses. If you're a Russian, we don't want your business here. You can die. Oh my God. It's okay to publish that kind of hate on Facebook. They temporarily suspended the ban. Well, you mean like Instagram temporarily suspended Kanye and now he's back? Okay, that kind of temporary. You let me know how that works. Who gets banned quicker for hating who, how, when, where, and what? This started with 498 dead and led to this. We now have to look at every headline from Skull Island to the ghost of Kiev or the ghost of Ukraine. He was all sorry, ladies. It's still not a female pilot. Um, he was all over Ukraine, wasn't he? We have Russian generals and now Russian colonels and lieutenant colonels. There's no way to keep these stories out of the field. I mean, in the field, they're getting out. And then we're back to Elon Musk and Starlink. Are we all being played? Elon Musk is the one who points out that the odds of us not living in a virtual reality or not living in some type of matrix, the odds of us not living in it are 1,000,000,000 to 1. Meaning the odds of us living in it are 999,999,999 to 1. I say that because President Zelensky, it's not Vladimir, it's Volodymyr Zelensky. That video of him in the cobblestone in the evening out in, it's not passing the sniff test. And it's no different than CNN getting caught staging video from Baghdad, and I forget where the Scud missiles were, and they had to wear the gas masks. I forget if it was. I don't want to say Israel and piss people off and be wrong. Yeah, back in Gulf War One. The math. What the Fitz, you really brought Uno card. No, no, we'll figure this out. We created, I never finished telling that in the rabbit hole story that I'll get to. So, as now young adults, I think that's enough. Yeah, we gave them 30 minutes of no news. These are the headlines. We're waiting for this emergency summit. I don't think they were figuring these numbers to get out. So, all the money, hurry up and get to. Boy, the Ukrainians seem to be doing pretty good on their own. But the Western media wants to call them freedom fighters. Yeah, the on the ground footage and the drone and all, something is not adding up. The convoy wasn't stalled. The convoy either didn't have logistically supply lines to fill, or B, the logistics to go fill the supply lines that weren't, because what they thought were advancing in the discovery of we're not being welcomed as liberators, they're killing and rape, robbing, and pillaging. No wonder the Russians are rape, robbing, and pillaging a liquor store. If the numbers we're now being told are true, because I don't know what to believe. The rabbit hole, this getting together and meeting and demanding, and this emotional blackmail. I don't know how young you are when you're a wee below in the Cub Scouts, but that's me. Wee below's weekend. Ooh, hold it right there. So now as adults, it's Gulf War One. We are alcoholics and junkies and out of control military prep students. They are. I'm an expat. I got kicked out of. We're still friends. See, we get thrown into middle school and then high school together. We all agreed now as adults. It was all like serving in Vietnam. You went through a Dock Way. I came in a Trang. You were here for Saigon. We were all in the same theater of operations. There's a bond for the guys who went to the same school in the same class. And then if you're in the same dorm or you're the roommate, there's bonds that are a lifetime. It just is what it is. Those of us who were in this metropolitan city, we were gathering for another reason, because now growing up learning, we all had similar birthdays within literally a 1 week time frame. So we'd gather together every year on that weekend for our birthday. Monopoly was the big thing, and Risk, parlor games, board games. Trivial Pursuit now exists. Already banned from most games of Trivial Pursuit. How do you know that? What? Sorry, be quiet. Thought the purpose was to know the answer. Took 18 minutes for you to go around. Luck of the dice. Where'd you learn to roll dice like that? We wanted to be really lazy. We wanted to create a new board game. We wanted to create the next Trivial Pursuit, the next board game. And Saddam Hussein and the evil Iraqi Republican Guard and the Iraqi army and the Air Force and everybody else provided for us kids. We were sick and twisted. This idea comes up, by the way, at Classic Motors on Excelsior Boulevard in St. Louis Park, Minnesota. And we're having lunch one day. You know, wouldn't it be cool? Not Battleship and Electronic. No, no, no. Wouldn't it be cool, like a big kids game of Risk? How would you do that? And we kind of bounced that in our heads for a few months. And lo and behold, the Iraqi army invades Kuwait. Operation Desert Shield. While traveling, we still talk on the phone. think the rates were cheaper after 5 back then, uh, or the weekends. But we chat on the phone through the Charlie's Angels speakerphone. And we would throw ideas off each other. Enter February, second, third week of February, 1991. We're all together. And we are going to create, and we're in real time. The invasion started. It's on CNN. We can, bad idea. Johnny Walker, I forget. That's how bad it was. Chivas Regal on the rocks with a twist. In 2 days, we drank a week's worth of out of the bar. So it was Johnny Walker. It was probably black. Oh, by the gallon. It was horrible. Great game. Doesn't play well, especially if the war was only in real time. So obviously 96 or 100 wasn't 100 hours. It was either 92 or 96 hours. And we played this game that we were creating in real time based upon media. And how would you do this to create what would be the world risking? Fast forward, headlines of this in November, end of November through the holidays, because Scooter hides in a bunker and watches the news. Doesn't go to Christmas party. What are you, nuts? Um, and then the war games started. And no. See, that's just way too many. You have way too many toys in the bathtub. Something's going to happen. And I voiced this on the Conspiracy Keepers end of December, beginning of January. So there's no denying that. That's at theconspiracykeepers.com. Fast forward to February. Thank you, Facebook PTSD, for even reminding me it's my birthday. Holy, you know what? I remember exactly where whoa. Because Rumi, hey, yeah, I know. What? Aren't you doing anything today? I went, no. What? You're not out picking out coffins? It's a joke. We've been friends forever. We all knew I was supposed to be dead when I was 30. There's no way we're still doing this. All right. It's not that long a story. It's almost done. Gulf War One and Gulf War Two, I wanted to be embedded. I wanted to be there. I mean, that's the broadcaster's dream. And watching the jerk sticks back then, and the helmets haven't changed, the colors of the vests haven't, the style of the clothes, but now you're not even the horror and the tragedy of the drama of that's not what a reporter does. I mean, you're a journalist. You're there telling your story. Well, you're just full of at this point, and you're not doing any good. And you won't let those people around, the people picking up weapons. You mean the ones the government gave them that we paid for? Which weapons are good and which ones are bad? And they're from Ukraine and they're not refugees, so they're not fleeing, and they're freedom fighters. Somebody in the production department perhaps should unplug something, open a window, and let management get some UV and fresh air. The people in journalism need to get a thesaurus, a dictionary, and the entire corporate structure needs to go with Leslie Stahl. Goodbye. So I agreed that I would do this, that because I always wanted to. Well, yeah, do something you love, and okay, well then I'm going to do this every night, 30 minutes, bang, bang, bang. Wait a minute, we're not to the 30-day mark of shows. I said I would do this because it's happening. Kanye is stalking and harassing Kim What's Her Toes. We just can't. I mean, well, imagine then 3 times when are you mad at me, honey? You're not mad at me. Why aren't you talking to me? Cyber stalking. You're going to have to take away his accounts, and I'm going to need half his stuff. I just thought you were mad at me. I demand, how do we get down this rabbit hole? I demand my 8 minutes back. Now 9. Um, the Soviet playbook. I don't know why I was taught what I was taught by the Jesuits and the Benedictines and the Franciscans and the Visitations, the nuns from the convent of the Visitation. They didn't teach me military strategy, trust me. But that's how I was raised. To respect and honor and understand the Soviet people, the mentality, the political infrastructure, and the ideology. Those are four very different things. But certainly the difference between the people versus the body politic and the people versus a political ideology, very different. It's all been homogenized into one in the color of a beautiful flag that will change it. This war goes on quite now easily another decade. I thought it'd be turned off. And I said, with 21 days, that's 24 months of, no, we're 30 days. And they're talking in the months right now. Months. That means years. We're already to the spring, which means stand by for campaign season. Stand by for the midterms. Stand by for more problems. So there'll be reactions. So those who've managed the crisis, quite poorly, by the way, can allege to provide another solution. So I don't know how we're going to get through this. I hope we get through this together. I appreciate you letting me ramble. You really may want to concern yourself where you're getting your news. Anyone who said the Hunter Biden laptop was, wow, stop, unplug, deep breath, because we're not moving forward. There's a lot of explaining to do. It's high treason. It's sedition. Let those chips fall where they may. Let them fall where they may with me. I'm Scooter McGee. Find me at scootermcgee.com. I apologize for the rambling, my comrades. Please remember it's Russian propaganda. That's all this is. It's disinformation. Don't believe anything. 9,800 Russian soldiers dead. I'd have heard that on the news. Supreme Court nominee, we're getting ready for enough. Hey, Clarence Thomas. Boy, I sure hope we don't have to ask the latest. What about court packing? Huh? How are you on crime? Huh? Well, wait a minute. Slow down. What do you think about giving everybody and anything another chance? Huh? Racist, homophobic, xenophobic. Pack the court. I get it. See you at scootermcgee.com. See you on the Facebook and on the Twitter and anywhere else. Support the show, spread the news, or, you know, give it a thumbs down. I hope you'll give it a thumbs up and a pass. At least pass on this one tonight. Long day, the shocking revelations of all of these lies regarding dead soldiers and being told all along of all the countless dead Russian soldiers and Western media saying it's not true. They sure seem to be getting caught at a lot of things that aren't true that they've all been saying, which really makes me suggest that they are not incompetent. I think they're in cahoots. I guess tell me what you think in the comments. Until tomorrow night, be well, be safe, be leery of the headlines.